Hi there, I'm Matt Alt, longtime Gundam fan, and today I'd like to talk about a really amazing new series of action figures that's coming out from TAMASHII Nations in this June of 2019. It's called Gundam Universe, and as you can see, this 6-inch size of action figure is priced at around $25. But let's look inside and see what makes these figures tick. Let's start with Wing Gundam, the ever-popular Wing Gundam. As you can see, the package hinges open from the side, and the figure is cradled, as per usual, in this plastic inner shell. Let's open it up, and let's take the figure out. Here we go, Wing Gundam. Now, as you can see, this is a highly posable, really detailed portrayal of this classic character. Everything from these binders on the back to, of course, the arms, elbows, knees, joints, what have you, are all posable to give this figure real amazing displayability. So here we have Wing Gundam up close. As you can see, the fine detail on these figures is really amazing. That's one of the great things, I think, about the 6-inch size. Those of a certain age might remember that back in the 90s there was a series of figures called Mobile Suit in Action that were made out of a kind of more rubbery substance and were smaller in size. These feel like a really evolved version of those figures. Not only are they bigger, obviously, but they also are made out of a hard plastic that makes them more durable and much easier to pose. And as you can see here, you can get some really kind of classic and amazing posing going on with these figures. Much more so, I think, than in a lot of the other types of figures that have come out previously. I mean, we're using not only ball joints, but all sorts of articulation in the figure. As you can see here, the torsos rotate in and out. The heads are on a ball swivel. And there's a lot of sharp detail going on here too. If you can see here, Gundam's trademark antenna come to a sharp point, as do the wingtips, which give this a really anime accurate and just fun to play with sort of appearance. And actually, I think what I just talked about here, the fun to play with aspect, is kind of one of the defining features of these figures, at least as far as I'm concerned. Because you can just take them right out of the package and play with them, display them. There's no, of course, painting or assembly needed, and there's a really reasonable level of parts, so you're not overwhelmed when you take these out of the package. The Gundam Universe figures are really designed to be fun, even for people who aren't die-hard collectors or die-hard Gundam fans to play with. They're fun and easy to play with for anyone, and I think that's probably the defining feature of these series. Let's check out another figure, a personal favorite of mine, the RX-78-2 original first Gundam. Now, as you can see, there's just a really nice balance of parts in here. Of course, you have the shield, the beam rifle, and beam sabers, which is basically, you know, the basic fundamental load out of this original Gundam character. The classic character. Now let's take a look at this figure a little bit more closely. This is a really fun reinterpretation of the classic Gundam character. It's very angular, and there's a lot of fine detail with panel lines and such. But I think the most distinctive thing about this Gundam Universe portrayal is how incredibly posable it is. Again, like the Wing Gundam, a lot of ball joints are used to give a wide range of motion to the parts. You can see here the skirts are all articulated to give the legs a greater degree of freedom. The head, of course, is on a ball joint. And there's a lot of little touches here, like the scope of the gun being painted in. And again, the characteristic of these Gundam Universe toys figures is their playability. They're just, you can just pick them up, pose them, and they're incredibly durable, so you don't really have to worry about parts flying off or breaking anything. Which again, not only makes them fun for people who know and love these characters, but even if, for instance, you're not that familiar with Gundam, I think you'd find this a really fun figure to play with, just because you don't have to worry about it. They're very stress-free, I guess you might say. And so let's get an action pose going on here. You can see even these wide-legged stances, it can keep both feet on the ground due to the ball joints being in the ankles. And I think this is something that really sets apart these figures from previous ones that have been on the marketplace. This combination and balance of both posability, playability, and the fine detail that you see all over the figure. There you have it, the RX-78-2 First Gundam. Next up is the Unicorn Gundam, which, as you can see, has a really amazing illustration on the front package that I think captures the kind of dynamic look and appearance of this recent classic mobile suit. Again, open it up from the side here. There you have it, the Unicorn Gundam in destroy mode. Let's take it out of the package and see what she can do. Okay, I'll put this together. Oop. The rear skirt fits on like this. Now, as you can see, each one of these figures comes with numerous hands, fists, and then another pair of optional hands that are shaped to hold shields, weapons, and things like that. Just what you need to display these things either in static poses or in more dynamic action shots, recreating little battles on your desktop. Hold on one second, I'll get this figured out, I promise. As you can see, the hands easily just pop in and off, so you can replace a standard hand with one that's gripping a weapon. Where would Unicorn Gundam be without its amazing shield? I've always loved the shape of this shield, and I think this kind of sharper sculpt really captures the appearance of this modern Gundam character. Let me get this shield in here. I might be doing this upside down. I was. Whoop. Can rotate that around. And we cannot, of course, forget the beam sabers. So let's put these hilts on. 1 and 2. Okay. Unicorn Gundam. So the Gundam Universe's kind of pointy, sharp-looking appearance, I think, really accentuates this character, which is one of the sharper-looking Gundams in the Gundam anime universe, as well as in the Gundam Universe series of action figures. This one has a couple of fun hidden features on it that I want to show you. Namely this, beam hilts hidden in the arms, as per the way the character actually works, which can be pulled out. And then, of course, because what's a beam saber hilt without a beam saber, you can attach the beam. I'd be burning my fingers if this were a real laser, but we're okay. It's just a toy, kids. So here you go. Here's a assembled beam saber. Take the gun out, replace that. So much color, so much pink and red. Look at that Psycho Frame glow beneath the armor. This is, I think, one of the more, I mean, they're all great, but this is a really distinctive portrayal of this character, and detailed even down to things like the beam saber hilts on the backpack are articulated so you can pose them to suit whatever type of attack pose you're getting into. But I mean, really, the sky is the limit with the articulation on these figures. They're really rival the best model kits that are out there for their ability, not only for the visual amount of visual information, the visual density that's on them, but also the posability and the ability to kind of reenact action poses and battles right in your display cabinet or your desktop. Next, I'd like to introduce product developer Julian Oreska. Welcome to the Gundam Universe show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Hi to all of you watching.
So can you tell us a little bit about, as one of the people who is integrally involved in designing and making these toys, what was going through your head when you came up with the concept?
Right, so as many of you will remember or probably already know, the last time Gundam was distributed or released worldwide was almost 20 years ago, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when Gundam Wing was shown overseas in America on a channel called Cartoon Network. It was also released on DVD at the time, and a lot of you will remember the Mobile Suit Gundam Wing figures that came out in stores at that time. So it's been a long time for the American and European fans. All of the fans who live in Japan and Asia will remember Gundam from the model kits, from our other TAMASHII Nations products, and even, you know, Gashapon, the Shokugan figures. So these are all things that are, you know, in stores all the time. But for our overseas fans, we wanted to create something new as a way to help bring people who remember Gundam from back when it first came out in 2000 with Wing, to bring them back into the Gundam fan community. So that's why, that was the main reason we created this new series, Gundam Universe. And of course, now that it's been almost 20 years, it's been a while since Mobile Suit in Action was in stores.
Oh yes.
So what we wanted to do was kind of evolve the figure. So as we discussed a little bit earlier, the joints, the details, everything is sharper now. Our ability to create molding has improved in 20 years.
Well, these are almost like the high definition versions to the standard definition of the old toys, right?
So in fact, one of the other things you'll notice too is when we came out with the toys a long time ago, they were partly targeted at a younger audience. But for TAMASHII Nations, all of our products are for ages 15 and older, these included. So you'll notice some very sharp details, almost maybe even too sharp on some of the, for example, the crest on each of the Gundams, their side panels.
Yeah.
All of that is the same if you're familiar with our TAMASHII Nations products. All of our other figures have similar sharp details. So that's something that I think you'll enjoy with these new figures.
These are a real, almost hybrid between the kind of incredible accuracy of kits and the playability of toys. I guess it's kind of, like you said, an evolution of Gundam technology.
Exactly, and I think there's a growing community of collectors, even in the United States and in Europe, who are looking for a more premium figure product, but that's still easy enough to play with, or you can kind of have on your desk and casually fidget with.
Sure.
And I think these are kind of fill that role really well. And as we said at the beginning, the approximate retail will be around $25 or 3,000 yen. So it's something that you can collect going forward. And as you'll see with the packaging, when we first showed these off, for one, they're going to be numbered with a new system for the Gundam Universe line. So you can obviously collect each in the series going forward. We're going to have a number of different Gundams that'll come out later. In fact, we do have a special guest with us today. Right here.
Let's have a round of applause for the prototype.
Here we go.
Tell us about this. Tell us about this Death Scythe.
So this is a Gundam Death Scythe, if you all will remember from Gundam Wing. As I said just a few minutes ago, when Gundam Wing came out in early 2000s, for a lot of the American and European fans, that's basically their Gundam, like how the ARC-78 is for Japanese fans.
Sure.
Wing is really what people remember. So we're going to have, or try to have, all of the main Wing Gundams in this figure line. So Wing Gundam starting out, and then of course Gundam Death Scythe will be in Wave 2. He has a little gimmick here, as you know, or if you remember the show. You can take off his Buster shield, open it up, and he comes with a little beam effect that you can put in there.
Classic.
Like when he launches it in the show. So it's got some little features in there that you'll remember from the anime. So all of the figures will have little kind of not quite Easter eggs, but there's nice little
kind of like the unicorn has the little action built into the arm. Actually, if I might ask, so what these have a very stylized sort of look to them. It's kind of in between anime and in between like a three-dimensional kind of look. What was the concept that your team was following when they designed these?
Right. So one of the things that we wanted to do with this being a new line is we wanted to kind of refresh all of the existing Gundam characters. So for example, The RX-78-2 has been around for 40 years now, and in our version,
don't remind me.
Our version anime line perfectly recreates that original anime look from the 70s.
Yes.
But for newer fans, people who aren't as familiar with Gundam, we wanted to kind of bring that look up to the modern age. So we've added a lot of details. You'll notice on his arms, for instance, he's got kind of a tapered look on the forearms.
Yes.
All of that is to kind of bring a sort of new visual look.
Yeah, it's modern but classic at the same time, I guess you could say.
Right, and in fact you'll notice too, for example on the RX-78, some of the leg details on the shin and on the knee are kind of borrowed from the Odaiba giant statue of the RX-78.
Giant statue, yes.
Because a lot of people, people who come to Japan from overseas will recognize that as kind of a new modern symbol. As a major tourist attraction too for Japan. The Unicorn Gundam as well is something, it's standing on Odaiba now for people who have been to Japan recently. So those are two kind of key, the Gundam's past here with the 78 and kind of the Gundam's future with the Unicorn Gundam. And then of course the original main Gundam from overseas, Wing Gundam.
It's like Christmas in June, the ghosts of past, present, and future. Let's talk about these stands a little bit. So each one of these figures comes with a connector that connects to a Tamashii stage, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And these are sold separately, correct?
So the stages are sold separately. The connector piece, as you'll see here, comes with the figure. So each of them will have the connector, and then with our sold separately Tamashii stage sets, you can plug it right on and you can pose them in some nice kind of lunging, flying poses.
Those deep space poses.
Deep space poses. As all of you will know, Gundam is fought in space mostly. Yes.
So why do we even need those legs?
That's a good question.
That's another question for another time.
Another time.
Because Gundam, I think, is the correct answer.
But here we go. So that's so the stages will help you, support the poses when you have them on your desk or at home on your shelf.
Well, congratulations. This is a really amazing new series of figures. So these three mobile suits are coming out in June of 2019.
Right.
What's on the roster for after that?
Right. So for Wave 2, we've got Death Scythe, as we've shown here today. And then also we're going to have Banshee, the darker version of Unicorn Gundam, for those of you who know this Unit 2. Mm-hmm. And then also Barbatos, which is from the most recent Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Teketsu no Orphans. And so those three will be Wave 2.
Okay.
But then also at the New York Toy Fair in February of 2019, this month, we're going to be showing some of Wave 3.
Oh, Wave 3.
So one of the things I think people will be really excited about, which we actually also teased at our TAMASHII Nations event last November of 2018, is that we're going to have the EZ-8 coming soon.
So a very popular character.
Right. So a lot of fans, especially in America, will remember Gundam 8th MS Team and Gundam 83 when those came out on VHS way back in the day in the mid-90s.
Yes.
So that's something that we even haven't released yet in Robot Spirits, the EZ-8. So EZ-8 will be coming soon.
So is this a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, a preview of things to come with this line to be gradually, or maybe not so gradually, expanding into more series?
So the main kind of goal, I think, for Gundam Universe is to celebrate all of the 40 years of Gundam history. So there's a lot of different series that you can look forward to. Things like G Gundam, Gundam Seed are all things that we're looking at right now. Even some of the classic rivals like Sharzaku. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a Sharzaku to pose with your RX-78-2 on your shelf?
Yes.
For example, Tallgeese for Wing Gundam. Those are all things that we have in our line as things that we're thinking about for the future. So we want to have it be kind of a line that fans new and old can all kind of come to and learn about Gundam, understand Gundam better. So those are definitely things to keep looking at.
Well, that's great. Thanks for showing us around this great new series, Gundam Universe, which is coming to a store near you in June of 2019 at a price point of roughly $25. Until then, stay tuned.